Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean.
I am Zardoz.
I'm Missy.
I'm Tori. You sounded really good there, Anthony.
Zardoz, that's a pretty kinky outfit that you wear through your science fiction space adventures.
Embrace me.
Luckily, I've never seen Zardoz.
You don't know what you're missing. It's amazing.
Yeah, you're missing out, man.
You know, I'm a firm believer that Sean Connery is a shit actor, so I'm not interested.
You don't have to be a believer. That's fucking true.
So today we're going to talk about a movie by Lars Ulrich. No.
Ew.
By Lars Van Trier. Anthony, tell us about this movie.
The House That Jack Built. So this one, popped up on my radar years ago now. Having watched a couple other Von Trier flicks, it was one of those things where I was excited to see this, and then for some reason it just fell off my radar. I got busy with life, and then recently I think Shout Factory or Scream Factory, whatever you want to call it, they had a sale. So I was like, you know what? It's time to add this to the collection and finally sit down and watch it. And it's pretty awesome. I like it. What it's about is just basically this serial killer who continually, figures out ways to, I don't know, outdo what he's done before, and hubris eventually leads to his downfall. But it's pretty intense. I don't really know where to start other than he's being guided somewhere, and it just the movie is basically like, look, he's like, look, I'm gonna try and enthrall and impress you with a couple of fucked up things that I've done in my life, and tell me what you think, basically. And then the film goes from there.
He's specifically, I would just like, I'm sorry, I'd like specifically to say he's not trying to impress us necessarily. So it starts with a voiceover, and he's speaking to somebody named Verge, and to me it was very clear he was being brought into the afterlife. So that's basically who he's trying to impress as they're on their journey. So I'm sorry, continue.
So Matt Damon is walking through a puddle, and
Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon.
I know.
Matt Damon. That's what I kept thinking of.
It's
Son of a
a
bitch.
joke.
Okay, me and Sean
the audience
both
hopefully
didn't get it. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? It was 50% chance it was a joke, but I confuse Matt Dillon and Matt Damon, not in my head, but when I say their names sometimes.
So do I. I kept saying the wrong thing.
I guess it would be considered to some, modern extreme cinema, which it is to some degree. But yeah, this flick is just it's something else, man. I don't know. So this is my first time viewing it. Also, this is the first time I've ever seen it.
Same.
Again, I've seen Von Trier films before. I love Melancholia. I love Antichrist. I love Nymphomaniac.
Breaking the Waves.
I haven't seen very much else beyond those films, but this one I thought would be like a welcome addition to the stuff that I already have. And, I let it rip, and it took me 2 nights to get through it just because it is a long viewing and I've got, a weird schedule. But no, it's one of those things where it just, like, I remember I was texting a buddy of mine during the film, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. It's like, just wait, it gets so much worse. I'm like, okay, here we go, man. And no, I dug the fuck out of this flick. It's very interesting. This guy's worldview is, I don't know how you even try to relate to it. It's so purposefully complex you can't. I couldn't. So, which is a good thing because I'm not a fucking psychopath. So that makes sense. But I could see how certain fan bases of this film would lump it in with other ones like American Psycho and maybe Henry and whatnot, and kind of I don't know. Some people tend to glorify these types of characters, and the one thing I did like about this movie is, like, it's very clear and obvious that the guy's a piece of shit throughout the entire film. that doesn't stop. And again, like I said, his hubris eventually leads to his downfall. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but let's hear what the rest of y'all thought about the film. First impressions. Tori, I know you've seen this one before, right?
Yeah. Am I the only one that this isn't my first watch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Peasants.
Ah,
It's definitely, I feel like, Von Trier's most tale of morality, because the bad guy actually has a consequence. And to me, it's Von Trier's most accessible film. I think a lot of his shit might be too weird for most people. And this one, as gross as it is, I think it is a little bit easier, especially if you're not into the art films. But I mean, to me, all it is, it's Dante's Inferno, but the Dante is a sociopath. And he's just
Yeah.
explaining to Virgil his story and thinking he's impressing him, but he's not.
Missy, what about you? Give us your first take.
Okay. And this was the first time I had seen it, and I haven't really seen any of Lars von Trier's other movies. I've only seen one, and I didn't like it, so I've never seen anything else. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It reminded me a bit of Henry, but I mean, I like those kind of stories. I thought it was a cool take on. It was giving us insight into the mind of the sociopath, and he tells you he's telling you about 5 random incidents, but I don't think they're random because they keep ramping up, and he's telling it to you in a very cold and clinical way, but I think his perspective is still skewed. So you don't know what he's telling you, if it's what actually happened or his perception of what happened. Because all of the people he encounters seem really, like,
Dumb.
they seemed really stupid, like to the point of almost being caricatures of themselves. But I feel like that's a filter. Like, it's not actually, like, they're not as stupid as they come off in that story, because it's how he perceives them, and he's telling it like it's truth, but it's a skewed perspective. And I thought it was an interesting way to tell the story.
It's a lot like Cemetery Man, where we don't know if it's in his head. Like the first victim, she's berating him and he's letting it happen. Is she really berating him, or is it what he's hearing in his head and it's just an excuse to kill her?
And through the whole thing, he's talking to Verge, who isn't actually alive. He's in his head.
But to me, the whole Virgil thing, I think he's dying in the shootout. And I think it's him just talking to Verge while he's dying and trying to go over it. That's mine.
Oh, okay.
Because he's, being taken down to the levels of hell. So yeah, I think he's dying, because it's like right at that point where the cops are like gonna get him, when he hears Virgil, and he's like, oh shit, okay.
That's interesting. I didn't catch that.
How about you, Sean? What's your hot take?
I'm reminded of Thomas Pynchon. So after I became an avid fan of David Foster Wallace, and the way that I read David Foster Wallace, I wanted to read Infinite Jest, which is the size of a phone book. I was like, well, I don't know that I'm going to like his writing, so I read Broom of the System first. It's shorter. I really liked it. So I took the plunge. Took me 3 months. I read Infinite Jest, and my life is better because of reading that book. So I read some of his other stuff, and then I knew, and people had told me, "Oh, you got to read Thomas Pynchon. They're like contemporaries, and Gravity's Rainbow is like amazing. Gravity's Rainbow is a large book, and so I was like, let me read something short first. So I picked up Inherent Vice right when it came out, and I couldn't finish it. I tried it 3 times. I fucking hate it, and I'm like, you know what? The Big Lebowski already exists. So if you're such a fucking great literary writer, this is just fucking stupid. Fuck you. Done. I'm very much reminded of that because American Psycho already exists. I'm not talking about the movie, but the movie's there too. But I just feel like Lars Van Trier wanted to make American Psycho and was like, well, I don't give a fuck if it already exists. I'm Lars Van Trier. I'll just make it artier. And I felt like this movie was 15% brilliant writing. The lamppost shadow analogy was wonderful. The whole thing about the tree in the middle of the concentration camp was wonderful. And everything else was just insufferable, pretentious bullshit. And this is from somebody that loves David Lynch, so I'm okay with some pretension if there's a reason for it. But I mean, I fucking just did not like this movie at all. And normally I can say I didn't like it, but it's a good movie. The first 40 minutes of this movie looked like a fucking 12-year-old shot and edited it. And if that's a stylistic choice, it's a shitty one. So, I mean, I almost turned it off, but if we weren't covering it, I would have turned it off. The whole Uma Thurman bit, I'm like, who, what is, like, who shot this? Who edited this? I don't think it's the cinematographer's fault. I think it's Mr. Von Trier. So, I mean, I really didn't like this flick. And I didn't find it extreme or mean or anything. I don't know. I just didn't see that. I mean, I see how it tries to be, but I just felt it failed at that as well. So, that was it.
Yeah, that sounds like all Von Trier movies.
Yeah,
they're all self-indulgent. They're all little fucking. They have the same style.
I mean, artistic directors are going to be indulgent to some degree, but I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure I've never seen anything else by him. I've seen bits of Dancer in the Dark, and it was about at the point where I was like, okay, Bjork, I'm done with you. You're too arty now, and you know. And it just fits. It fits right in that groove. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Art scene, cool.
Like it to me, it looked. Anthony, you can attest to this. It looked stylistically a lot like Nymphomaniac.
It does. It's a bit more spastic in that regard. Yeah, definitely. It's not like Melancholia or Antichrist, where it's very. There's actually some like real craftsmanship going on here. There's some art happening in front of you. And thematically, I think it works. I do understand what you're saying, Sean, about like just editing in the beginning of the film. It does look a little sloppy. It almost looks handy cam, you know, in your face, and I get that. I think I was looking for something that was going to be mean and a departure from other things that I was watching at the time, and in that regard, I found it effective. And then I have to look at the other aspects of the film, also the acting. Matt Dillon is fucking incredible. I mean,
He's great. He is
for
great.
him to be able to carry this film. It's amazing. I remember Missy and I were talking about his acting, you know, prior to this conversation, where, you know, I love him in Rumblefish, and a handful of other stuff. There was one where he portrayed Bukowski in a film. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, Factotum.
Factotum, exactly. Yeah, and he was fucking outstanding in that movie as well. I mean, the guy
Drugstore Cowboy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
The guy can do it, and to see him take on this kind of character and run with it and seemingly have fun with it is you know, both shocking and completely impressive. But then again, he was already impressive to me, so I was happy to see him in this vehicle to be able to and have the opportunity to kind of like, you know, express that side of him, and I thought it worked very efficiently. Whereas, you know, like a film like Melancholia, like I said, it's very uber depressive, and just, you know, it's got color schemes that, you know, really, you know, meld those things together. Whereas this one didn't have that. And it's just interesting to see how a mind like this expects to get away with this kind of crap over and over and over. Because I think at one point during the film he goes, "I've killed more than 60 people." You know,
Mhm.
like you have no idea. Like this, you really should listen to her. There's the one where he's, he mutilates his girlfriend, which is again another horrific scene. And there is some stuff in here that I've just never seen on film before like that. And then again, I have to look at, practical effects wise. There's some gnarly shit in here. There is a little bit of CG. I watched the director's cut. There's only a difference of a minute in footage. I don't know what that is because I've never seen it before. This is my first time. So I said, all right, I'll go full bore and, see what I'm missing. There is a touch of CG in there, obviously in hell. But there's also some pretty gruesome up close shots of physical violence that are, well, should be awarded just because of how they were able to pull them off, in my opinion. And that's just, that's the artistry that goes into that craft that we all here, at the Horror Vision appreciate. We like practical effects.
Yeah.
So again, these are things that I'm looking at that kind of outweigh, shooting style and sometimes even story. But I mean, in the end, I think it all culminated very well, and he got his comeuppance. And no, with that, I found this to be a very confident film from him. I don't think it was as gratuitous as like Nymphomaniac. I think it was just the right amount of psychopath and violence and psychology, especially the psychology aspect. I thought that was brilliant. I mean, just the way this guy's mind works is,
Mhm.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
again, it's something I could never, uh, relate to just because I'm not wired that way. It's very, very, very fucking odd. But
Well, the lamppost, the way he explains
yeah,
the lamp, I mean, that stilled me. I was blown the fuck away with that explanation, that analogy. I thought was just so elegant and gorgeous. So that, like, 100%, yeah.
I love the whole church analogy with comparing your work to worshiping.
Oh,
Okay, but I have a proposition for you, Sean. So you know how you're saying you hate the first 40 minutes? It looks like, a 12-year-old shot it. What if that's on purpose? Because how he
no, it
talks
is.
about
I
his,
know it is.
right?
I
Okay.
100%. That's why I said I know it's a stylistic choice. I just think it was a stupid one. I think, sometimes you can take an artistic, like, okay, artistically, I want it to look like this, and that's how I'm going to approach it. And it's still just, and also, A, I'm not saying I'm right by any stretch of the imagination. And B, I don't want anyone to think like, I still, when I watch a movie like this, I didn't like it, but I'm glad I watched it because I've seen it, right? So it all goes into the fucking big schematic in my head of film, the library, right? And references and cross references. But I know that that was, and honestly, that's like that's part and parcel to the overall transgression to me, which was just like, it's, I don't know. I just didn't think, I was afraid of this movie. I remember, like, this came out in 2018. I was afraid of it. And I don't know why I was afraid of it, because there was nothing in this movie that bothered me. I don't know.
Right?
I didn't,
Like I had always, like I was expecting it to be way more. I mean, it has violence, but I was expecting it to be much more violent than it was, or to show more. Um, because it always seems to end up in those conversations when you talk about things like
yeah,
Henry and like the movies that just the really fucked up ones. And I mean, it's fucked up, but I didn't think I didn't think it was that graphic. I mean, there are a couple graphic scenes, but a lot of stuff is implied too. Like even
definitely.
the creepy scene with the girlfriend, you don't see it. I mean, you see what he mutilated later, but you don't actually see it happen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this falls. I think a lot of the fact that it is a disturbing there's a lot of disturbing things here, but I really think Matt Dillon, aka Matt Damon, really, I think his performances, everyone in the movie's great. It's not their fault. And I think it's the way just his character and the way he presents everything. There's something about his constant talking and explaining and this, like it offsets all of that. So it feels like an academic survey of what's going on as opposed to being in the visceral moment, even though when you are, I mean, I feel like one of the most disturbing things in the movie to me was when the girlfriend, who's played by, I don't know how to say her last name, Riley Keough, Keough. I've seen her in a
Elvis's
bunch of shit.
granddaughter.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, she's Elvis's granddaughter.
The scene where she lets him remove her shirt and then he draws like the red marker dashes around her breasts, just that in and of itself.
That's creepy.
That was creepy and super, and she played it great because she was like, she goes from just dismissing him as like, you're weird, when he's like, I've killed 60 people, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, you're weird. Once that happens, she fucking runs out, goes to finds the cop or whatever. So I thought everybody in it, I thought all the performances were solid. I mean, people listening might be like, well, how the fuck could you not like the movie then? But I just feel like the director is just he's just so busy being Lars von Trier that the movie suffers for it. And I don't know.
I feel like Matt Dillon's performance carries the whole thing.
It does.
He blew me away. And I liked him already. But I mean, I think this is one of the best performances he's ever done. And I mean, I don't know. The thing I thought was that creeped me out the most was the scene where after he goes on the picnic, the scene where you see the dead kid's face. That shit was creepy.
Oh, when he's talking about states of decay.
Yeah.
The malleability of waiting for rigor mortis to leave. I don't know. I thought that looks fucking stupid as fuck. Because then it's in the background every time he's in the freezer, and I'm like, okay.
I don't know. It was something about the kid's expression that seemed like the most graphic thing in the movie to me. That like stuck with me.
I wish I wish right now or in 2018 somebody had made American Psycho as a movie for the first time and used him as Patrick Bateman, because one of my big problems with the movie version of American Psycho, other than it's not the book and I love the book, I've read it 5 or 6 times, is I don't buy what's his
Bale?
fucking, he's just nothing about him as Patrick Bateman to me. Like I felt like Matt Damon could have, if he had been in that movie. I see. That was not on purpose. Matt Dillon, I feel like he could have very much been Patrick Bateman. And I think Lars von Trier was very, like, even just the, like, is this really happening? American Psycho. Like, I don't know. So that's where my long-winded analogy of the Thomas Pynchon, because I fucking hate Inherent Vice. And
Sean, let me ask you this. Was there any humor that you found in the film?
I mean, there might have been. I don't know. If I know there were like some attempts at humor. I mean, it was definitely humorous when he finally hit the bitch in the fucking face with the jack. I mean, that was like, that was a great moment. That was a great payoff. But I didn't feel it was earned. Like, it just seemed so like, when you make a super shitty character just because the audience is waiting to see them killed. And that was so like, even considering what Missy said about, yeah, is she really like, is that just a character and she's not really like that? But like, I don't know, it was just so over the top, her character. I was like, yeah, I want to see him fucking kill her. And they made you wait probably the right amount of time. So it was like kind of humorous, but not in any way that gained it any favor in my eyes.
What about the escape though? Because I was dying when he's pulling that body with the truck.
I was just thinking of Nymphomaniac, how Nymphomaniac, it's a woman confessing like her sin, how she became the way she is. It's like the same thing in this one. It's him confessing to Virgil kind of how he started. Not really, because we don't even know much about his childhood.
Yeah, we only ever get a glimpse of it.
Yeah, just that tiny bit. I gotta tell you though, that duck scene, that fucking effect is beautiful.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
that one got
That was a great effect.
What did you guys talk about the end? I'm just gonna shut the fuck up now because I don't want to keep beating on the movie. I'm not. Everybody should see the movie. Like if you're even remotely interested, don't listen to my dumb ass. Fucking see the movie. Talk about where the movie becomes something other than what it is in the
Fantastical.
first. Yeah, there you go.
I got a lot of like Hieronymus Bosch and Blake vibes from the end. I love all that kind of artwork. And obviously he got a lot of inspiration from it, from the way that they did like the art direction, or that one shot where they're in the boat and all the bodies are coming up.
I was waiting to see that guy's dick. It just never happened.
Oh my God, me too. I was like,
come
I
on,
see balls. I see
Come
balls
on,
from
balls.
the backside. Like, I never see this angle. Give me more ballage.
Yeah. I've
We
seen
need more
Ballage.
male.
plenty of back sack. Give me some balls though. Yeah.
I want some back sack, man. Like,
Yeah.
you never see any male full frontal, back full frontal. So, like, I appreciate Von Trier for making the men show off the goods as well.
He does.
I tip my hat to you, sir.
Yeah.
Just
that
a
scene in the
tip.
Elysian Fields was
Just
gorgeous.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
did you? Oh, fun fact. So, in that part where they're like walking through the fields and before they get into hell, did you notice the cabin from Antichrist?
I haven't seen that movie.
So I saw it and I thought to myself, like, oh, is that the cabin?
yeah.
It is. Well, evidently, yeah. There it is.
Tis the cabin.
Yeah. Sean, we're about to talk about dicks again. Get back here.
And you guys know it's a nursery rhyme, right?
No.
The house that Jack built.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you sing it to us in its entirety?
Oh my God. No, it's a really long one. It's like, it's one of those nursery rhymes that builds. It's like, well, the house fell because the dog. Fuck, now I want to.
I like how he shies away from his failures and doesn't really want to talk to them, because Verge eventually asks him, he goes, "Didn't you just want to build a house, Jack?" And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of never was able to finish it." He'd get an idea, he'd go and lay the foundation and start, putting up plywood or wood and doing whatever he needed to do. Sorry, I'm not in construction. I don't know what the terminology is for all that. But I mean, he made these really cool looking, designs for the home that he wanted to build, until he just realized that no matter how hard he tried, he could never finish it. It never worked. It was never good enough. And obviously that goes back to like the OCD stuff. Sean and I were talking about that earlier today, about how, during, what was it, the second kill, where he goes in and then every time he tries to leave, he keeps thinking he left another blood stain
He has
behind.
to keep cleaning.
I mean, as a guy who has locked the door to his house and drove around the block, came back to the front of the house and checked the lock again to make sure that I locked it, and then did it a third
Yeah,
time.
I do stuff like that too.
I get it, you know what I mean? But again, I still can't relate to that because I'm not a fucking murderer.
Right.
But
But you can still relate to like his OCD quirks.
Of course, absolutely.
Because that got me too.
Yeah, and then
but like with his failures, he's a narcissist. Like he would never, even if it's Virgil and he's like, "I'm fucking dying. I'm going to hell." Yeah. No, I'm still not going to admit I did something wrong.
Of course, and then that's why he leads with hubris and the mindset that everybody else is beneath him, and that he'll never get caught and he'll do whatever he wants, and that's why ultimately he decides, oh yeah, I can make that fucking ridiculous climb to get to the other side of the bottomless pit and leave hell and go back to do whatever you want. But you gotta that's that's the mindset he had. That's the hubris he had. That, oh yeah, I can even defy death, knowing that you're making
Mhm.
your descent into hell. You've died, like you're not coming back, and it
Right.
just never clicks to him that he still believes that he's in control of the situation, which
Well,
he's
it's like it's the opposite of Dante's Inferno. Instead of
yes,
Dante coming to the realization and like, oh, okay, learning from Virgil, Jack's doing the opposite. He thinks he's teaching Virgil,
oh yeah,
and
hmm
then it all fucking falls apart. Okay, so I'm just gonna say a line from the nursery rhyme
okay,
couple. So this is the house that Jack built. This is the malt that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the rat that ate the malt that lay in the house that Jack built.
Oh, I
So
know
it's that
this.
kind of poem where it keeps going and builds up.
Okay. Well, the movie
But
does that too.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like the crimes keep building up.
Yeah, and it's how these little things, when you get to the end, you realize, oh fuck, they're all connected. Okay, I see how.
I will say the OCD component in that second murder, the woman at the house, you know, where her husband worked for the rail yard or whatever, that I really liked. I liked the fact that he left the house, he started the van, and then they show us a picture of him lifting a lamp and there's blood, or him lifting a chair and there's blood. He shuts the van off, goes back inside, checks those exact spots, there's no blood, comes out. And then there's a siren, so the police are coming, does the same thing. Like, I really, really, really liked that portrayal. I thought that was expertly done. And I can relate. I don't have like OCD on that level, but I feel like everybody maybe has a touch of it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
there's been, you know, like where you leave the house and I'm like, I know I unplugged the fucking coffee pot.
But did
Turn the
I?
car off, go back in and look. You know what I mean? Like, so I really, really, I really thought that was very well done. Very visually portrayed excellently, the way they would show you those insert shots.
Mhm.
Tori, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you know any of the differences between the director's cut and the theatrical? Like I said, it's only a minute, but I'm wondering if you knew what they were.
No, I don't. So I'm pretty sure I watched the director's cut the first time, and I honestly, everything looked exactly the same to me.
I went looking for the analogy. I was hoping for just the dialogue, but I didn't get it, the lamppost analogy. But this is from a website called thisisyourbrainonfilm.com. And this is an article written by Tim Waveria from 2019. And so he has the images that you see. They're like animated image, like really rough, like almost charcoal based animated images. And the way that Jack explains it is the way the metaphor goes: when a person stands directly under a street lamp, their shadow is at its smallest, but also its darkest and most dense. As they walk away from the light, their shadow increases in size in front of them, but the density of the shadow decreases. Jack likens this to a cycle of suffering and elation through compulsory action. The figure standing underneath the street lamp is him when he has killed someone. He feels euphoric, but as time passes and he moves away from the street lamp, his euphoria decreases, much like the density of the shadow. As the figure moves away from the first street lamp and gets closer to the next street lamp, another shadow grows behind, this representing a growing pain and desire to kill again. The closer the figure gets to the second street lamp, the less dense the first shadow becomes, and the second shadow behind him intensifies. So I thought it was one of the most elegant, amazing analogies, and it could be, and I think Burge even makes the point. You, doesn't that analogy work for any kind of addiction or whatever? So it's not just for killing, but I really, man, that kind of blew me away. So if nothing else, like this movie was 100% worth. Like I got my enjoyment. I got so much enjoyment out of that kernel. And also to your point, Anthony, about hubris, because you've mentioned it many times. Um, Verge says hubris is punished by nemesis, which I thought was a fucking great line. And I also like that he called his nom de plume was Mr. Sophistication. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, so the difference between the two versions, is pretty much like the third incident. You see, it's more graphic. You see more with
Is the
the
third
bodies.
Is
the
that the
mother and the
picnic?
children, right?
The picnic, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what those
And
frames are.
and then the taxidermy scene with Grumpy is a little bit longer. Like you see him sewing the eyes.
Yeah.
You just see a little bit more the close up. Okay, that's what it is.
Okay.
And it's like slightly longer shot of Grumpy. So it's not much. And then you see a bit more of the breast sequence.
Yeah, they actually show him
Show her cutting it off.
Yeah, he runs the blade under and pulls back, and you can see the flesh separating and the fatty tissue.
Okay, that's what's different because
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
see
very
that.
graphic. Yeah, that scene's very graphic, and it's
And
like I said, it's just a frame or two, and it's like whoa, like it's very graphic.
and then the scene where he kills SP, it's just a little bit more bloody.
Okay.
So all
Good.
the kills are a little bit more graphic in the director's cut.
Just
Yeah, just by a
just
hair.
even a
Okay.
few. It's seriously like a minute and a half, 2 minutes longer. Show us your boobies. You know what? No, you know what the part that kind of grossed me out was seeing the booby coin purse
Yeah, that was creepy. That coin purse.
and just how openly he used it and like in front of the cashier.
Right.
I was like, oh shit. But that's true. Like fucking serial killers, I feel like at that point they would be so brazen to just check it out.
Well, he
It's
talks
leather.
about he takes more and more chances. He gets more and more brazen as he goes. He
Right.
mentions that to Verge several times.
And the OCD gets better.
And as
Yeah.
he gets riskier, the camera gets more erratic.
I feel like the camera got less erratic. Like that, oh, that first 30 minutes or whatever it was just, I was just like, oh my God, you're making Cloverfield look like a steady cam. And
Yeah,
I
there
mean, I
were a
like
couple hand
Cloverfield.
cam scenes that were kind of giving me a headache, but it evened out. So it didn't end up ruining the movie because they don't do it through the whole thing. It's just a few scenes.
Well, overall, I made a letterbox review, one word, perfect, and that's it. It's everything I expected to be from Von Trier. Again, me being a fan already and already kind of knowing how his styles meander and just the how he's able to control the chaos on screen. I expected that here, and I got it, and then some. And no, there's not much I can say other than thank you for the groovy David Bowie song that you keep playing over and over to find
Another thing I really liked about the movie was like, okay, fame, cool, okay,
yeah.
cool.
But no, I really did enjoy the film. As a first time viewing, I don't think it was as shocking just because I'd already seen stuff that has shocked the shit out of me from him. So so it's all very, in the same vein. And no, I just thought it was another excellent addition to his filmography, and I'm sure I'll delve into some more of his stuff at a later time and juncture. But I'm glad that I stopped to take this one in. So yeah, definitely a thumbs up and recommend for me for those who are out there that are willing to take that journey into the grotesque. I think it's there for you, and definitely give it a watch.
Anthony, was this part of the Melancholy trilogy?
I don't know.
He did the Melancholy trilogy, so I think it's Nymphomaniac, Melancholia. This one, I don't know. I gotta look it up.
There's not a lot more melancholic than a drill through your dick, but
No, it's the Depression trilogy consists of Antichrist, Melancholia, and Nymphomaniac.
okay.
The 3 films star Charlotte Gainsbourg. I had been looking forward to watching Melancholia. That's been on our queue for a while, and it looks gorgeous. I will probably not watch that. I am open to trying another. You know what I want to try because I've heard about it
Wow,
for so
looks great.
long.
Not gonna watch it.
I want to try the Kingdom, that show he did in like the 90s about the hospital, I think, and then it disappeared forever, and then
Ooh.
it just came back like a year or two ago.
It's on Shutter, I believe, because I started
No,
watching it.
it is it on,
It's not
it's
anymore.
on Movie for sure.
Oh, I remember watching it on Shutter.
Okay, I don't think it's on there now. I could be wrong.
Any other final thoughts on the film?
I'm just glad that you brought it to our attention because I dug it. I like a lot of those serial killer movies, and I mean, the only thing I had ever seen by Von Trier is Dogville, and I didn't like it. So I've never seen anything else. But I'd be willing to try another one of his movies after seeing this one. It would be a thumbs up from me. I liked it.
Cool.
Two titties
Well-
up, two uncut titties up.
That's kind of
Sorry,
fantastic.
Riley. Sorry, Simple.
I would definitely say I think people should watch it. I think if you hear my ranting and you think that like you would feel the same way, maybe don't watch it. But again, for that, that analogy was fucking great. And again, even if you don't like a film, it's not a bad thing to watch a film. And I didn't think there was anything in this that was. I mean, I don't know. There's cruelty and stuff like that, but I don't know. I thought it was undercut by other elements. So I didn't like the movie at all. But I would definitely say, you could do worse.
I definitely think if you want to do the Trier, it's the best way to get in. But if you listen to Sean, if you want a better serial killer movie, then I would do I Saw the Devil.
Yeah, which one day we will do that episode. So that's the house that Jack built. Guys, what else?
Oh, I've seen all kinds of things.
Ooh.
Okay.
Zardoz speaks. I've been delving into a genre of horror lately that we'll talk about that soon.
Men's room horror?
Very soon. Did you say menstrual horror?
No, men's room horror.
Ooh. We could talk about that. Let me tell you.
I did watch. Funny you mentioned it a little while ago, Sean. I rewatched Cloverfield the other night, and it was the first time that I'd seen it in several years. Couldn't remember the last time I'd seen it, in fact. And no, it's still very enjoyable. A lot of terrifying moments, especially like the subway scene with all the little chittering spiderlings that are jumping all over the place. That's it. And then just the unknown that comes with it too, like the whole exploding head thing with Lizzie Kaplan. It's like, wait, what the fuck happened? That came from a bite. Like all those, really interesting things. I like that film finds ways to play with other fears like heights and stuff like that when they have to go into the giant collapsed building and things like that. Definitely your fear of the dark. I mean, because they can't rely, because of the budget, they can't rely on the giant monster the whole time. They could, I mean, granted, they had a great budget to make this film, but I like that they didn't want to just rely on, the terror of a giant menacing monster smashing through the streets, eating people, which is all implied. You do hear that it was eating people, but I had a great time with that film again, and I'm really happy that I was able to sit down and watch that one the other night before bed. I have seen a lot more. Again, majority of it is folk horror, and we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, that's it for right now.
So Cloverfield, that's interesting. Lizzie Kaplan is so interesting because she's that like New York model in that movie, and I feel like everything else I've seen her in it is like she's Annie Wilkes in Castle Rock, and she's fucking awesome at it. She's the mom in Cobweb. So a similar, like kind of like almost on the spectrum, very like, just not the same character that she is in Cloverfield. And I find it very interesting. She's had a pretty cool career. I think she's a really good actress. And
fucking Mean Girls, hell yeah.
That's a great movie. And have you guys heard, there's like been some titterings, I feel like, about there being another one coming.
Mean Girls?
Another Cloverfield.
I'm like, tell me
There
more.
is a new one, that's why.
Yeah, I heard that there's a new one in the works that's supposed to return to the story of the first film. But I mean, I didn't watch the third one. Love Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield Lane was fucking outstanding. That was a great fucking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Start
that one
to
too.
end. Awesome fucking film. But yeah, of course, the long-standing rumor has been that they're going to go back to the original storyline with the monster from the first film, where it came from, all the, fill in all the details and give you more of what happened. I'm curious to see where that story went anyway. So, I mean, if it does happen, great. But yeah, I've heard for, years now that that's going to happen. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. But
Right.
yeah. I wouldn't mind going back and seeing more of that. It would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I have a feeling at some point somebody will do it. They just announced that Blumhouse is going to do like 3 new Blair Witch movies, which, I mean, as much as I like the original, nobody fucking wants that. And
No.
I just feel like, I don't know, but so that just made me also think of Cloverfield because I don't know. Anyway, Missy, what have you seen?
Oh, yesterday I watched a super fun movie, and I think you watched it this morning.
I did.
Okay. So last night I watched Festival of the Living Dead on Tubi.
Yeah.
I think it was Tubi we
It's a
watched it.
Tubi original.
Yeah, it's a Tubi original. That's right.
Don't hold
With
it
some
against
really well-placed ads that made me laugh. But Festival of the Living Dead by the Soska sisters, and it was a really, really good time. It kind of operates on the premise that the events of the original Night of the Living Dead really happened, and there's like this, I don't know, I guess it's like a Warp Tour or
It's like an annual festival
Riot
that,
Fest or something like that. Like
yeah,
some kind of
well,
festival.
they say it's like the 55th year, and so that just leads me to believe that it started as a commemoration, and eventually a corporate entity absorbed it and was like, oh, let's make it like Warp Tour and have bands and
Right.
shopping and
And all
yeah,
this stuff.
basically.
Yeah,
Gathering
something
of
like
the
that.
Juggalos.
Love it.
But I mean, these kids end up at a festival for a couple different reasons, and there is a zombie outbreak, and it's a super fucking good time. And it's absolutely worth your time on Tubi. It had pretty good practical effects, decent gore, a couple of characters that you really care about, and a couple that you were really rooting to see die.
Oh, dude, this is such a great example of when will the boyfriend be fucking brutally
Yes!
murdered.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, him and his brother.
His brother is even
Both
worse.
of those
Jeez.
people, yeah.
God
Those people were
damn.
terrible. Kevin and Ty, I really wanted them to die terrible deaths.
So bad.
And it was kind of funny because it starts out as like I'm watching it, and Peter comes through the room the other day, and he's like, this looks like one of those teen movies. And if it was anybody else, I would assume that it's something like that and just keep going. But instead, I'm sitting here wondering how all of these people are going to die because it's you. So it's going to be a horror movie of some kind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, do you want to know the title? And I told him, and he's like, okay, zombies. Yep, all these people are going to die. And then he just kept going. And I mean, I had kind of a crappy day yesterday, and I put that on, and it put me like it was a pick me up. It was everything that I wanted. I thought it was a good time. I don't know, the beginning kind of, because the initial 10 minutes I had the same reaction that I had to Bodies, 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 where you hate everyone.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Oh yeah.
But this got better and paid off. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies does not work for me. I hate that movie.
You know what really, the first thing that like caught me where I was like, I didn't turn it off because I was like, oh, So not only is Night of the Living Dead like this is in the
Like,
world,
real.
so it's technically
Right.
a sequel. The main character and her little brother are Ben's grandchildren.
Oh shit! I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they're Ben's grandchildren. And like when I told
Oh.
Kirsten, she's like, "Did they establish Ben had kids?" I'm like, you don't in Night of the Living Dead, you don't really know
You don't
that much
find out
about
his
the people.
background.
You get a
Right.
cross section of people trapped in that, and that's the whole point. Is like, this is
Mhm.
who I am now, right? So
A day in the life.
yeah, and I thought that was fucking awesome. Like, holy
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
these are Ben's grandkids, and the whole thing, like, the little brother, like, where he's like, no, my grandpa told me, it's okay to be scared as long as you're doing the right thing. I thought it was great. And like the first zombie we see is he's uncredited, so I'm not 100% sure it's him, but I'm pretty sure it's him because he's in their version of Rabid. Is Troy James, the contortionist that's in Anything for Jackson, um, uh, Dream Door, the fourth season of Channel Zero. Like he was in a bunch of shit, but he's that guy that's able to do all those super eerie contortionist
Okay.
things. But what I liked about that was all of the actors when they change, like when the boyfriend changes,
Yeah,
spoiler,
they all
but
get
whatever.
like
They
real
all
twitchy.
get this really weird body motion, and it's not
Mhm.
overdone. It's just enough to let you know, like, yeah, they don't have a nervous system anymore. Like
Right.
you can snap their bones, it doesn't matter. And I I really liked it, man. I hope this gets a physical media release because I would buy
Mhm.
it for sure.
I got a question for you. If Grandpa Ben died 55 years ago, how did the little kid have that conversation with his grandpa?
No,
Well,
well,
his
actually,
parents probably told him.
yeah. So the little kid didn't have the conversation with the grandpa. It's the grandpa's wisdom is passed down through. I'm assuming through the parents, right? So, although I don't know. Now that I'm hearing that, I don't know. I'd have to watch it again and see. But
We're also talking about a
nonetheless,
zombie movie, Anthony. So
yeah.
suspend a little.
Right. I
And,
feel
and
like it probably came from the parents.
Splitting hairs.
also, there is a huge a gaping problem with this movie where there's a scene where somebody's like, "Do you have any bullets left?" Not a one. And then
Yeah,
5 minutes later,
yeah,
they
that's-
shoot somebody. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I'll let it go.
Wait a
I'll let it go.
second.
And this,
Yeah, they might
this,
have never-ending bullets in this movie, but whatever.
this
I
is
mean,
this is the point where Anthony and everybody at home are like, this guy just trashed Lars von Trier's movie, and he's telling me to watch this Tubi original.
The
Fuck this
Tubi
guy.
original.
Maybe
Is
Lars
Tubi
von Trier should
sponsoring
make a
this
fucking
motherfucker?
Tubi original. Called Backsack. I'm
Yeah,
Lars
maybe you'll
von
like it.
Trier. I'm
Maybe
going
you'll
to
like this.
photograph the back of my testicles for 5 hours and explain
No.
the ridges to you. I don't know if
And
that's
then
how he
Tubi
sounds.
wouldn't release it because he would say something about Nazism. He'd be like, "Oh."
Oh, he's that guy, isn't he? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a whole nother level unlocked. Wow.
So self-indulgent, yeah. Little fuck, man. Kirsten Dunst was supposed to be a part of House that Jack built, and she dropped out.
Because of the Nazi thing?
I have a feeling it was because all that happened during the Melancholia press.
Wow.
Lovely man.
Who else?
Oh man,
Anything else anybody seen?
this was a rewatch for me, but it'd been a minute. I rewatched Ryuhei Kitamura's Downrange. Anybody?
I don't know what
It's on
that is.
Shudder.
I've
Okay.
seen it, but actually I don't remember that movie. I have a weird I just had a weird experience watching it, and I don't even know how to explain it, so I won't, but I need to watch it again.
Very simple. If people don't know what it's about, just a
Sniper.
group of friends are traveling, just traveling somewhere. They get a flat tire, and all of a sudden there's a sniper just taking them out for fun. So it's them trying to figure it out.
The Wolf
But
Creek.
this is well, Wolf Creek, he takes him, he's hunting him. In this one, this guy is literally just Kent
In a
stating them.
blind. He's just in a blind
Yeah.
shooting him. If you ever saw
Yeah, he's
Ty
in a
West's
ghillie
Trigger
suit.
Man, it's a lot like that.
Okay, that's what I was just gonna say.
So fucking gory. So it's great. He does these kind of great effects. It's the same director that did Midnight Meat Train, and he did
Yeah.
Versus.
Oh yeah,
So
he did.
Oh
He
yeah,
did
okay.
Versus.
I love both of those movies, Versus and Midnight Meat Train.
I've been listening to the Versus soundtrack so much for the last 6 months, and I don't know where that came from. And I haven't seen the movie in 20 years. I need to see
I
it
know, I
again.
haven't seen it. I bought it recently too, just to have it, because I know I don't have it anymore. But yeah, rewatch it. It's a good movie. I mean, it's simple, violent. It's not reinventing the wheel, but if you want like a good gore,
And
fuck yeah, do it.
Graham Skipper's in it as the deputy. I remember that. Um, it's a good flick. I'm glad you brought that up. It's been on Shudder forever. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
Yeah, I watched it on Shudder like seriously last week. So
And what was this one called?
Downrange.
Downrange.
I will say I think I like Ty West's. It's because it's very similar, except instead of the car breaks down. Well, it is different because in Downrange they're out in the open, right? And in Trigger
Okay.
Man they're upstate New York, and it's like 4 or 5 buddies,
A wooded
like
area.
a wooded area. It's like it's before like this guy gets married, so they're gonna go on this trip. It's him and his groom, whatever, bridal party, whatever the fuck you call that shit.
Bachelor.
And yeah, there you go. And
Stag party.
they're in the middle of the woods and they're pinned, and so it's almost more like that. Almost feels more like that the whole sequence in Full Metal Jacket where they're pinned. Where Downrange is it's almost like the equivalent of horror during the day versus at night. Like Downrange, it's daytime and it's wide open, and so like there's nowhere you can go.
Okay. So you're not pinned, you're exposed.
Well, they have a car, so they're pinned behind the car, but they're totally exposed. Where in Trigger Man, at least they were in the woods, and
right. They could find some cover.
They're both great movies. And God, Trigger Man's, it's nowhere. Like you cannot see it. I got it from Netflix when it was on disc, and I've never.
Yeah, that's how I
man.
saw it. Like way back when Netflix still sent discs.
Yeah. But Downrange is way more available.
Downrange does, to me, get a little ridiculous with some of the gore. Like he really ramped it up, and I appreciate the director for doing that. But at one point, I was like, "What the fuck?"
Is it a facial injury?
It's like a whole sequence. There is a facial injury, but it's just this whole sequence. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, don't give anything away. I'll rewatch it. It's been quite some time.
Where
I'll check it out.
It gets a little a little Looney Tunes. So if you can just look past that, it's a fun movie.
Okay.
I like those movies too, where you don't have everything explained.
Yeah, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I do too.
Like I don't want the rhyme and reason all the time. It's something I enjoy about this movie.
Okay. I'm a gore hound. I'll check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch that.
It's real gory.
I'm really
whole sequence. I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because I love Midnight Meat Train and Versus, and I didn't know anything about this movie. And with that title, I did just skip past it.
Did any of you guys catch Midnight Meat Train theatrically?
No, I didn't even know it was in the
Unfortunately,
theater.
I did not.
It was a really interesting thing where that came out, and instead of putting it in first run theaters, they only put it in second run theaters. So I remember taking a drive probably about, probably 20 miles outside of LA to a second run theater that already had stuff that was, out of the mains and whatnot, and was able to sit down and watch Midnight Meat Train theatrically. And then afterward, I guess they were able to tally numbers, and they're like, we fucked up. We should have put this in a first run theater because it actually
Damn.
it was really sad, actually, but the movie was really fun theatrically. I was really happy.
I would have loved to see that in a theater, but it wasn't playing anywhere near me. I would have had to drive out to the city.
Yeah, you would have had to go find a second run theater that they were playing them at, which was
Harlem
really
Corners.
bizarre.
No, they're all gone.
No, I
been
know.
gone
I'm
for a
kidding.
long
I'm
time.
kidding. I know. Harlem Corners. Miss that place.
That Midnight Meat Train is one movie where I can look past the fucked up CGI. Like, and I don't mind that it's CGI heavy.
There's not that much. It doesn't bother me.
And there's always the book. Like,
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I'd rather read the story again, but
yeah, but for me being too, like, I can be fucking kind of obnoxious with, oh, the book's better, meh.
So can I.
We all can.
I enjoy that one.
It was a pretty good adaptation.
It's no Silver Bullet, but it'll do. I'm just kidding. I fucking love Silver Bullet. I love Silver Bullet.
I grew up
so
with
much.
that movie. Even if the werewolf does look like a grizzly bear.
He looks so cool to me. I don't care. I don't care.
I don't know. I have issues with the way the werewolf looks in that movie, but I still love the movie. I like my werewolves to be more elongated and stretchy, like in The Howling or Dog Soldiers.
Yeah,
and that one
agreed.
Looked kind of like a grizzly bear. But I mean, the movie itself is great, and I fucking love werewolf movies. So I mean, I can forgive a goofy looking werewolf for a good movie.
I love that, man. Okay, well, let's call it. So that was The House that Jack Built, and an assortment of movies you may or may not want to see. And we'll be back soon with another in-depth, enthralling, elevating, invigorating.
Oh, I thought you were going with some alliteration there.
Yeah, I was trying. It's late, and So, but anyway, so for the Horror Vision Horror Podcast, my name is Sean.
I'm Grumpy.
I'm still just Missy.
And I'm Simple. Oh.
Oh, man. And if you're going out on a date and the other person decides to pay and they have a coin purse that looks like it might be made of a breast,
run.
Get up, excuse yourself to go to the washroom, and leave. Because no one is half the battle.
Or if you have any vibe, just get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive:
the world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure: murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadowplay in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.